Hey, how's it going? In this video, I want to talk to you guys about how our 194K per month info business lost about $12,000 in 72 hours. We are in a phase right now of the company where we are bulk scaling, we're blitz scaling, and that means we are just reinvesting everything into paid ads because we want to accelerate, pull the future forward and accelerate faster. We have a higher risk tolerance. We have some large investors in the company that have a great deal of capital. We're not really reliant on distributions to front an exorbitant lifestyle, but we really want this to be $1 million a month company in the next 6 months. So we are basically not taking any distributions and intentionally reinvesting into staff and everything like that. Now, I will be honest, we did have a drop in our return on advertising spend, so we did not project a loss, but we were trying to scale as much as we can and break even or do a 10 or 20% margin, okay? So you can see in June, we did 170K in cash collected. We did, roughly $86,000 variable expenses. Those are things related to the marketing, the sales team commission, setter commission, manager commission. That comes to about 15 to 70%. There's a finance and merchant fees and an affiliate commission. Okay. You can see that brings our total payout to $83,000 in variable expenses. And then we have 30K in fixed fees for the month of June. This is a couple months after that. At the time of this reporting, we've now increased our fixed expenses to closer to $50,000 per month because we have the core team now. We don't need to make any new hires, but the current hires are going to get us to $1 million a month, and we don't need to make any hires past that. Okay. We have AI doing a lot of the workflow. So the fixed cost base is rather low and the rest is variable expense. And we can always pull back and expect that there will be an increase in revenue or ROAS rather at a lower scale. Okay. Now, let's walk you through the math here on exactly how we lost the $12,000 in 72 hours. Our total cash collected in the first 2 weeks was $183,000. So tracking towards 170K roughly for the month. We had $46,000 of advertising spend. The sales team commission of 20% of that was 14% of top line, plus our $40,000 of fixed cost, and our payment processor fees at 3%. That's $2,700. That leaves our profit margin at $20,000. Okay. Now, if you see this company, we've done a pretty good job of growing it. We were brought in December because our existing media buyer had a weird funnel and just not the right team in place. They had about $80,000 a month in fixed expenses, and they're doing a 0.96 ROAS. So they were basically overpaying for underperforming. We came in, we cut their staff costs. We basically took over everything. Okay. Marketing, sales, CS, everything, and ran the whole info business. First month we spent 9, generated 45. Second month we spent 16, generated 60, then 15, 63, then 23, 67. Then May we did 106K cash collected. June we did 193 in cash collected. July we've done 161. Every single month we have gone up in revenue. With only the exception in cash dropping in July. Okay, with that ROAS on average being a 3.4, we've generated roughly 750 to 800,000 in cash collected off of an initial advertising budget of just $10,000. We also had a fixed cost base of $25,000 per month that we had to basically exceed every single month to make a profit to reinvest in ads. So pretty excited with where we are. We now have a couple six figures in the bank account. We're really scaling aggressively from having nothing in January and multiple six figures, and we have a huge company of hires that we made. It's pretty exciting, but with running a high ticket call funnel is volatile. So I want to walk you through that. Okay. So with a $50,000 fixed fee base, we're spending now $3,000 a day. We started in January spending $300 a day. Now we're spending $3,000 per day. Okay. So it's a 10X. Now, that would result in about $90,000 a month in paid advertising spend. At a 2X ROAS, that's roughly where we start to break even because we have $20,000 of fixed, 20% of top line commission, 3% payment processor fee, another 2% of refund rate. So that brings us to around a fixed or break even ROAS at about 2.0. Okay. Our existing average ROAS since inception has been 3.2. So using those current predictions, we would expect that we would generate 80,000 in profit for this month. Okay. Now that actually hasn't transpired. Our ROAS right now is right at break even for the month. Okay. So we're scaling up. Our lead cost rose. We got a bit nipped in the butt. And now we have to pull back here and really get conservative and focus on efficiency here. Okay. So this is really important to have these models. I have tons of these models I look at every single day. I spend most of my day looking at dashboards and making decisions. And then once I made a decision that something is a constraint, then I have to get more creative and get closer to the problem and be a little bit more qualitative. Okay. Now, this business owner had incurred and they've invested close to $500,000 into this business. We've added an additional $150,000 in profit net of my $15,000 a month fee for running the entire info business. And so that brings our loan balance at the time of this to about 320. Okay. Now, if we were to grow this, about 20% month over month, so you see I'm projecting a 20% increase. You can see here right in November, that's when we would cross about 456 in cash collected, and we would pay back the entirety of the loan. Okay, so that's our target is the next 3 months to distribute $350,000 to the shareholders. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit. That's kind of like the outcomes and everything that's happening in the company. This is what's looking forward. These are, ROAS projections. This is what we've done so far. This is the loss that we took in the first 14 days of the month of August. Here is the profit and loss in June. Okay. But now I want to show you what's happening on a day-to-day basis. Okay. So this candidly is a dating offer. Okay. And one of the things that I've just noticed, when I came into this business, they had a low ticket offer and I used it as a downsell. So I'd send unqualified leads there and we would liquidate 20 or 30% of the spend. But now I got to the point where I felt like sometimes that was cannibalizing the high ticket. So typically best practices are that in info, it's very, very different from physical goods. So in physical goods, the best upsell is more of what you just bought. Okay. So in physical and e-com, the best upsell is more of what you just bought, right? So like if you're an e-commerce store and you sell flashlights, the next page of your funnel can be more flashlights, right? Info, and by the way, I'm stealing Russell Brunson from this. I didn't pioneer this idea, but this is really, really true. In info, we basically were breaking the cardinal rule, and I don't know why it took me so long to connect the dots, but you can't just sell like a mini version of the main outcome. It can't just be a small dating course and then ascend to a big dating course. It has to be delineated. So what we did is we rebranded that low ticket offering to a dating course. Okay, that was the place we're going to send all the unqualified traffic that doesn't make sense from a unit economic standpoint to allocate our US-based full-time sales reps time to those leads. They don't have the purchasing power for higher ticket offerings, but we're sending them to a $197 Instagram course. They just get the Instagram course. It's very clear this is just an Instagram course. And then when they solve that very narrowly defined problem, then they can ascend into the higher ticket spectrum. Because it really pisses people off when you're essentially saying, okay, here's all the information, here's the complete system. And then they sign on to the program and they're like, this is all I get for $197. And it's like unlocked to get the full system. They're like, I thought this was a full problem. So you want to solve like a very narrowly defined problem. Like in 2012 or 2013, I remember there was an offer that did really well with Dan Henry. It was, I think I bought it for $27. It was how to install your Facebook pixel. Okay, now it's insane. That's so commoditized. You'd find the answer to that in 3 seconds, but that was an info course. And then that very much transitioned into his next offer, which was more kind of in the agency space, right? So you want it to be delineated there, okay? So this was cannibalizing because it seemed too same, and the marketplace is always going to pick the lower ticket offering over the higher ticket offering, test it, and then they're going to bounce. They don't have a lot of skin in the game. They don't have a lot of buy-in in the game. And then they typically just consume that and then they just bounce, okay? So that's one thing to consider, okay? Okay, the other thing we're doing is we're scaling in other countries, okay? So what we found, if you look at the month-over-month data, there's so many things happening in the company, but the main key constraint that's happening right now is as we've scaled and dropped below our break-even ROAS, we saw cost per qualified lead raise from $80 to $150. So that's roughly a 60% increase. Well, guess what happened? We saw 50 to 60% decrease in ROAS. Okay. That's actually a good sign. I like it when the earnings per lead remains consistent because that's my early leading indicator. I know that if I can, as long as for this particular offer, if I keep our cost per qualified lead below $100, then I'm in good shape. I know that the unit economics, my existing sales team, I'm really confident in the existing sales team that we built here, that we're tracking in the right direction here. Okay. So, earning per lead stayed relatively constant, but I, as the media buyer, just was trying to find out exactly kind of where my break even was. And I know that the max that I can push it to is 150, 160 per qualified lead. that's where my business is kind of right at the break even. Okay. Now I'm going to have a margin for error. I want a spread there. I want a delta between my break even ROAS and where I'm handling right now. But sometimes as a marketer, you try and push things up and then your spread compresses and you kind of break things and you get more data, and that allows you to scale faster. Right. So it sometimes makes sense to really scale aggressively, break it quickly, as long as you have to be careful with it. I've seen people like destroy 7 months of profit in 1 month because they scaled too aggressively. But we kind of pushed it. We approached break even ROAS, which I did here. I mean, most people don't even have the spreadsheet. They don't even know their numbers. They just look at the end of the month and say, holy shit, why is the bank balance going down? We look at new customer ROAS. We look at new customer cash ROAS, new customer revenue ROAS. What percentage of all contracts do we collect? We look at, there's so many. So there's 4 different ROASs that I'm looking at. Okay. Every single month. The one that you really want to look at is new customer cash collected ROAS. That's the most important one, I think. Okay. If you really want to be aggressive, you can scale on the total cash coming in and out of the account. Like you can just look at cash in, cash out ROAS for the month, because that has some correlation. And if you want to be insanely aggressive and you're super confident with your ability to collect the outstanding payments, you can scale on revenue. Okay. But that's going to have you go into the red, and then you'll collect that revenue down the road. But yes, you will be scaling faster technically. Okay. That's a bit of an LTV game. I wouldn't recommend that if you're bootstrapping, you don't have a lot of cash, but there's basically 3 different, there's 3 different ROAS that you want to be tracking. It's new customer ROAS, cash, new customer plus the installments for that month. Okay. So you can know kind of where your average is. So let's say your new customer upfront cash collected ROAS might be at 2.0. And then new customer, like if you just look at cash ROAS, that includes new customer revenue plus existing installments of prior customers, that might be 2.5. Okay. And then you also have revenue. That might be like 3.5 or something like that. Okay. That's the case for us right now. So just to be conservative, I don't ever want to be in this situation where we're losing money. We've been profitable pretty much every single month since we took over this account, but I've been trying to push it to the brink and I pushed it too far. So now I need to kind of pull things back. But for us personally, I'm not allowing new customer cash collected upfront ROAS to not drop below 2.0. And for me to do that, I know that my early and leading indicator is $100 cost per qualified lead, because the sales team is really, really consistent. They're doing an incredible job. Our earnings per qualified lead has gone up, but I, as the marketer, have done a bit of a poor job and kind of let that metric slide outside of KPI. Okay. Now, okay, so I showed you growth projections. Okay, another thing that came up that's really exciting, okay, is that with this particular client, we cracked YouTube ads, and we spent about $15,000 to $20,000, generated a 0.3 return on advertising spend, shut off the campaigns and said, okay, we're just doubling down on Meta. And then something amazing happened. Our last $1,000 of ad spend on YouTube went through our 3-4 weeks sales cycle. So we opened up a couple deals in that, we shut it off. And then 14 days later, we checked Hyros. We're like, holy shit, there's this one ad set inside of Hyros that produced 3 high ticket sales from a YouTube and PPC campaign segment. So you're like, holy shit, that's incredible. That's a clear signal. So we're now allocating a big portion of our resources to YouTube ads. Generally, what you're going to find is that YouTube ads has more upward scale potential if you can crack it, but it is harder to crack it. Okay. I've had YouTube ads campaigns where I've gone from $200 a day to $4,000 a day, and there's no change in lead cost. There's so much scale in Google ads. Okay. However, it's very hard to get a proof of concept. Facebook is your proof of concept platform. YouTube is your scaling platform. Okay. So YouTube is very fickle. It's kind of a pain in the ass. If you have a very fine B2B audience that relies heavily on complex targeting, it's a little bit more of a niche audience. YouTube or Facebook 100%. But if you have a mass market B2C offering in, I would say, a more consumer facing offer, so BizOp, health and wellness, relationship offers like this, and you have maybe a 5 to 7K AOV, even 12, 15K AOV, you can crush it on YouTube ads. If you crack that platform, you should get excited. And it's also, keep in mind, it's not quite an interruption-based channel. It's also an intent-based channel too. Because remember, we're targeting people that are searching for these specific keywords on YouTube. So there's a bit more buying intent behind them. Definitely higher cost per lead, higher cost per call and stuff like that. But it's a phenomenal platform because it provides you that extra layer of intent that you're not necessarily getting on the Meta algorithm. Okay. Okay. We're also doing PPC branded keywords, and we're retargeting on GDN, or the Google Display Network. Okay. That's a different conversation for another time. We do a lot of great remarketing campaigns on GDN. Okay. The one challenge you're going to encounter with YouTube ads is that you'll find very affluent demographics pay the $10, $15 per month for YouTube Premium. So you're not really hitting that upper echelons of customer oftentimes. That's why it's great for like that mass market B2C. I've seen it work really, really well for like 3 to 6K price point, and not as much as of late for 6K plus. I'm doing more Meta for that. Okay. But Meta is great for proof of concept, but it's a little bit more fickle in scaling. Now, keep in mind, this is somebody I've spent $15,000, $13,000 a day, as a part of a team on some of the offers that we were working on in BizOp and other offers and stuff like that in the past. So it's definitely very scalable. It's a great platform, but I've just seen the lead cost just break. So it'll go from like $200 a day to $1,000 a day. You can just see your lead cost triple, and it doesn't make sense. You're paying, your lead cost is going up 30%, you're spending 30% more. So you're basically just, whatever that difference is, that increase in spend, you're effectively just pissing it all away because you're getting the same amount of leads. Okay. Other thing that happened recently in the company is we did hire a sales team manager. We're very excited. My friend Ryan Clogg and I discussed compensation. We wanted to create we met somebody that we thought was so exceptional, and we weren't really ready for the hire, but we wanted to hire ahead of time because we don't want to let this person go. This person's so exceptional. They were in between offers that we wanted to make them an exceptional offer and cast a vision for them to stay in the company and stick with us for the long term and help us build this company. Because I don't know if I'm at the time of this recording, if I'll ever be allowed to be public about who this person is, but this is a $20 to $30 million a year. I mean, this is one of the biggest influencers in the world, and we're running their entire info marketing scene. And we have a lot of other partnerships, transparently, that we work on behind the scenes. But this one has the biggest potential. This could be a $20, $30, $40 million info company. And the biggest regret of my info career is that I just spent so much time scaling horizontally, taking on different projects instead of scaling vertically. So fundamentally, our job as marketers, oftentimes we're creating an infrastructure. We're creating a foundation. And it's so much easier to just push more volume through that system that you're creating than it is to pioneer a whole new system. It sounds so easy. It's way easier to just, as Ryan, my friend Ryan told me at a seminar, he didn't say it like this, but I took it like this. He goes, "You idiot, just add a zero to the marketing budget. Stop doing new projects, add a zero to the marketing budget." Like, how much easier is it just to go to a sales rep and say, "Hey, take more sales calls. Can you hire more people to do what you're doing?" It's already proven. It's already working. Just do more of it, right? Don't do no. So biggest mistake in my info career is I scaled horizontally, took on a bunch of clients, found a couple that I thought had the business model, the brand, the positioning, the opportunity, and also had the character match personality-wise, that there's somebody that I wanted to work with long-term, because you're getting into bed with these people for decades. So this opportunity is a $20, $30, $40 million a year opportunity that I hope that, 5, 10 years from now, I'm still doing this, and we're doing $100 million a year. It is that big of a market. It is that big of an opportunity, okay? So we wanted to paint that vision for the sales team manager that we thought was exceptional. We wanted him to come along for that ride. So we're currently at $200K a month cash collected, just shy of that, 194, okay? And we wanted to show him what the comp would look like from $200K a month to $2 million a month. So right now they're getting a 3% override on all sales, but obviously, at $2 million a month, are we really going to pay these people $60,000 a month, $720? Are we really going to pay this guy a fucking hedge fund manager salary? It's ridiculous. So, all the people in the info marketing space, they're not great operators. They're not business people. They're not thinking in terms of like competitive OT market rates. And they were just, oh yeah, just give them 3%. It makes sense. You're de-incentivizing them. It doesn't make sense. Paying somebody $720,000 a year, plus your margins are compressed quite at that level scale. You're taking on all the risk of the business owner. They're not, the market doesn't warrant $720,000 a year. Okay. So if we're doing $100 million a year, okay, there's probably a few people in your company that should be worth, making $1 million a year. But this is a pretty good rate to make $300 to $500K a year with minimal risk. Like, come on, dude. So, and then here's the other thing. Okay. You can see here that in my experience, a sales manager can manage 5 to 6 reps, 5 to 6, maybe 7. I've seen one team where one guy managed 10 reps. Okay. And he did a pretty good job of doing it. Okay. But what happens when you have 20 reps, all doing $100,000 a month to do 2 reps? You need another layer of management. So you have a sales director and then maybe 4 managers that are all managing, 5 reps each. And your job is to manage the managers and sometimes the individual reps that are giving them a headache. Okay. And so basically what that's going to look like is total top line for our company. 20% of that's going to go to sales team commission, 10% closer, about 3 to 4% setter, maybe 5% for the setter. Now we're 15%, 3% for manager, 2% for the director. All in all, 20% of top line right off the rip gone to the entire team. Okay, so that's pretty much how it works. And our goal is to run these businesses at, it's a gross overall generalization. A lot of it's in terms of the margin of these businesses, but our model, if we're going to rely on paid traffic, I'm looking at a 20, 30% net margin, right? I think that's very, very doable. 40%. Now that margin can get egregiously high if you have revenue retention, which I don't really think so for this offer. We're going to have great revenue retention, full transparency. I think this is very much going to be a performance marketing, sales driven organization for the most part. Okay. So that's everything. that I wanted to share with you guys today. This is a day in the life, everything that I'm working on. You saw the key hires, you saw the staff. Oh, this is something else that I did not talk about, which was staff costs. Okay. So this is what our team looks like. This is a CSM. We pay him $35,000 a month. This is an operations guy. He handles customer support, access, access, little administrative things, some reporting, daily. He updates all my spreadsheets every day to see how we're doing on the media buying department across every department, marketing, sales, whatever. And then every single day he identifies and he highlights which of those department leads are outside of KPI. And then the department lead comments on that Slack channel what their plan is to get back within KPI if they're the ones constraining the company. Okay. I have about a $13,300 fee for this account to manage everything. And we have an email marketing technician that's $1,000 a month. They help with deliverability. We have our friend Jeremy Haynes, Megalodon Marketing. We're paying them $5,000 a month. We have a base for a couple closers here for $2,000 a month, and we have $7,000 a month in software. And we have a tech guy who's really good at Close.com, Zapier, making daily adjustments. So that brings our total fixed expense, if you can believe it, to $45,000 a month. Now, I'm not proud of that right now at our current revenue level. We could get by a little bit leaner than we currently are. Because this company may take a loss by the end of this month, I will just waive my fee for the client. But I wanted to build the team that would help me in $1 million a month. So we're a bit overstaffed. Okay. I have a little bit of a prima donna staff right now. And these are some stuff that our agency would typically handle, such as the operations and stuff like that. But it's freeing me up to think a little bit higher leverage, bigger picture. And it's really the team that's going to sustain us to $1 million a month. Because adding an additional $800,000 a month in revenue, we will only maybe increase our fixed fees from $45,000 to $50,000 a month. So that means that if I can spend, $500,000 a month or, what is that? $15,000 a day on paid ads. We're talking about a 30, 40% net margin there. Okay. If you do the math on that. Okay. So there, I hope that's helpful. That's a day in the life of just one of the info brands that we are managing. And, if you like these videos, subscribe, share it. If you got a business doing more than $100,000 a month and you would like a skilled operator who understands the finance, the sales team aspect, the CRM aspect, the payroll, the cash flow management, the ad spend allocation, stuff like that, multi-platform advertising. If you're looking for somebody that's maybe even just you have one platform working for you, great, like you have a YouTube ads and you want to try Meta or vice versa, or you're great on Meta, but you want to try LinkedIn. We're really good at advertising on all the major platforms, both the social channels and also some of the more corporate channels like a LinkedIn. They use us for a source of diversification, give us a second channel to diversify their business. So regardless, you just want a second opinion, book a call at my website. And if you're doing less than $100,000 a month, you can still book a call. We have consulting done with you options where you can, learn from myself. You can learn from my team. You can learn from my media buyers, my copywriters. You can learn from my salespeople, my sales directors across some of these brands that we manage, and they will kind of consult you to getting your business to $100,000 a month. Okay. And help you see some of the blind spots that maybe are preventing you from getting there. Okay. So, anyway, hope that was helpful and hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.